When Michelangelo was in his 80s, he is famous to have said, "I'm still learning." And Michelangelo, like most of his contemporaries of his time, studied at a guild, and that's where they learned their craft of sculpting, drawing, and painting. Now, what if I told you that you could study at a school just like Michelangelo and his contemporaries did and learn how to paint and draw just like them? Before I tell you how you can find these schools and where they exist, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Laura Orengo Bayer, and I am a narrative painter who specializes in the realist approach to painting. And my channel is all about academic techniques and how you can learn them at home and apply them to your own work to improve your technique and create incredible works of art. Now, let's continue. So, how do you find one of these schools? And are they expensive? And you're probably wondering, how do I even pick the right one for me? I made this video to help you figure out just that. Before we continue, I want to give a little bit of backstory on my own education. And I went to 2 different academic painting schools and graduated from both, of course. One of them was Angel Academy of Art in Florence, Italy, and the other one was Grand Central Atelier in New York City. And before I tell you anything about them, and I actually will be doing 2 separate videos talking about my experiences in each school. If you're interested in that, please let me know by commenting below. I'm more than happy to talk about my experiences, especially if you are considering going into one of these schools. To continue, like a lot of you probably watching this, I had no idea these schools existed. I thought that all of the amazing techniques that the old masters learned, I thought those were dead and buried with them. Thank God that they weren't, because holy crap, I was so excited when I found out about the Angel Academy. And I found out about the Angel Academy through someone I know who studied there, and they visited my high school randomly. They were visiting my class, doing little presentations showing their work, and I asked them, I was like, oh my god, where did you learn how to paint like this? And they told me, the Angel Academy. I never forgot. I considered dropping out of high school to go because I was just so excited. Of course, my parents were not really into that idea. The good thing is, today there is a much easier way to find these schools, and you can find these schools on the ARC website, that is the Art Renewal Center, and their website is artrenewal.org. Before I tell you how you can find those schools on their site, I want to tell you a little bit of background about the ARC, because they're a really important organization in the realist world of painting. And the reason is that the ARC came about as an organization that is trying to protect and revive the tradition of realist painting. This, of course, does not mean that they are against other types of paintings. It is simply that they want to bring it back to the forefront, because unfortunately, realist painting was pretty much considered dead in the 20th century. There are a lot of reasons why realism fell out of favor, and I can totally do another video about the history of realism and how it almost died in the 20th century. If you're interested in hearing about that, make sure to comment below. Now that you're aware of the Art Renewal Center, you can go ahead and go to their website, artrenewal.org, hover your mouse over the Educate link, and then go down to List of Schools accredited by the ARC. And there you will find the complete list of schools. Now that you're looking at this list, you're probably wondering, okay, but which one do I pick? There's so many of them. And there are actually 3 things to consider when you are picking one of these schools, and they are location, price, and student work. I will also mention an alternative to attending one of these schools at the end of the video, but for now, I'm going to assume that you're watching this because you are very interested in going to one of these academic painting schools. So let's first talk about location. And location, thankfully, is very easy to find thanks to, again, the artrenewal.org website. And when you're on that list, there's a handy little map on the ARC website, and you can actually click and scroll down to pick the country that you're interested in or the country that you are currently in and see what's available there. I know in the United States there are lots of them compared to before when I was just starting out at Angel Academy. There are a lot of schools in Europe as well. So the location you select depends on whether or not you can go a bit further from home and if you have some money. Now that we're talking about money, which of course it's important when you're considering going to one of these schools, thankfully these academic schools can be pretty cheap. I mean, the most expensive one that I noticed is actually the Florence Academy of Art, which is in Florence, Italy. It is $18,000 a year. which is not so bad. And then on the lower end of the spectrum of these school prices would be something like Ravenswood Atelier, which is in Chicago, and that one is $3,400 a semester, which is $6,800 a year, which really isn't so bad. Of course, you have to take into account that none of these schools in their price tags include housing or visa costs if you're going outside of the country. They don't include food. They don't include basically all the necessary things like materials as well. So those are other things to consider. And if you don't know how to budget for these schools, I'm also more than happy to share a guide on how you can budget for attending academic school. And again, if you are interested in that, you can comment below. If not, I'll still make the video anyway, because I think it's still useful information. I also want to point out a really important thing, which is that the price of these schools doesn't mean you'll get a better or worse education. I think in the end, what's important is, when you're picking these schools, pick the ones that are close to you, or pick the ones that you think are in your price range, and then from there, check their curriculums. And this leads me beautifully into the final point, which is to look at the student work. And the reason I say this is because as they are, so you will become. What's really interesting is that despite these schools having very similar curriculums or similar exercises, you can look at the work from, say, someone from Charles Cecil and know, oh yeah, that person studied at Charles Cecil. Or you can look at someone from Grand Central Atelier and be like, yeah, that looks like Grand Central Atelier work. Why? Well, the quick and easy answer is every school has its own philosophy. What that school's philosophy is really based on is what the creator of the school or the founder of the school thought was important to teach. What these academic schools really do is they're teaching you how to see, and that bias of what you're seeing, what you should be looking at, and what your work should look like then makes every single school have its own sort of signature style. So when you're looking at these schools, what I recommend is you could go into the website of the specific school you're interested in, and you can look at their student gallery and see the works that they have on their website. But of course, it's mostly going to be the student work that has been the absolute best. And I'm not saying that your work won't be the best, but it's also important to see what the average work looks like. And you find this by going to that school's Instagram or their Facebook, and you check where they've been tagged, and usually it will be their students. Current students or very near current students that have tagged them. And if you look at their work and you like what you see, then maybe that's a school for you. Because, if you want to paint in that style, you want to draw in that style, that's the key factor. Looking at the student work. If you don't resonate with the style, or you resonate more with the style of another school, then maybe that other school's the right one for you. But in the end, you will still be learning how to draw. You'll still be learning the fundamentals the same, if not a similar way that Michelangelo and the Renaissance masters did. Finally, though, I do want to mention an alternative to these schools, and that is learning at home. And it can be pretty challenging, but no fear, that's why I made this channel. I decided, because of my Instagram following, and I get so many questions about techniques and how to do this and how to do that I decided, well, I want people to know this information for free. I want them to be able to use it as they will. And that's what led me to create this channel. On my channel, I will be giving you guys the exact step-by-step how-tos of what you would be learning at an academic painting school. Of course, I can't fully replace the expertise of the teachers there, but I can definitely provide as much information as you might need in order to make your work look beautiful and maybe take your technique to the next level that you didn't know you could. So if you came this far, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, remember to subscribe and comment and like and tell your friends, because if you have friends who are also interested in learning academic drawing, I'm sure that this page and this channel would be a very good place for them to start.